right, let's move on to the rugby league now. There has been some rule changes. Pistol Pete, he can fire a bullet. What do we think of these? We'll talk about the first one, the kickoff rule. Whoever concedes the try has the option of either kicking or receiving. Thoughts on this one?
You're at Clubland. How has it been received?
Look, I think, you know, I can't speak for other people at the club, but for me, I always have concerns that we're 2 weeks out from our pre-season challenge and we still don't know the rules to some degree, or the new rules. Like, I think that's a bit of a concern. You know, there's obviously been some commentary around giving the clubs time to be able to implement these. So whether it's for this season or next season, it sounds like, as you said, from what we're hearing, that it's all guns blazing and going ahead. My concern, I suppose, with the kickoff is I do like the fact that, you know, those sides that have been scored against do have that option to receive the footy again. But then you look at that semi-final, the Broncos don't win the competition. That's the cold hard facts of it. The day against the Raiders were well and truly ahead with 10 or 15 minutes to go. And so if the Raiders decide to receive the footy, Walsh doesn't do what Walsh does, and Brisbane don't win a grand final. So we need to think about that. The 6 again is the one that really concerns me, Braith, if I'm being honest. We ask so much of our players. And to think defending your try line with those set restarts that we've seen, and to be fair, there's not a lot of accountability. They're really subjective, those 6 against calls. It's just the opinion of the referee. But that was to try and clean up the try line area where sides were just laying on the opposition to slow down the ruck to get their defensive line set on the try line or in that, you know, good field position. To defend your try line for 12 or 16 tackles is a hell of a lot easier than to have to defend it the whole way up the field, where big boys are having to retreat 10 metres every single time. Now, if that ends up being a set restart 25 metres out, then all of a sudden there's another set restart, you know, sort of on the 40 metre line. There's a potential where your middle forwards are having to defend 18 tackles all the way up the field. I think we'll see enormous fatigue, and I think we'll see a lot of potential controversy and frustration around that from coaches.
Yeah, I think Peter and Andrew and the Commission have a history of just making decisions quickly, which is great, but then what is the domino effect of that decision? Like through COVID, they brought in the 6 again rule, and you know, contemporary players and coaches can understand that possession is king. What happened was a good team would score, get the ball, 6 again, next minute's 100-metre set, dominant scorelines blow out. And then 12 months later, 18 months later, they go, oh, hold on a minute, we can't have that. So we need to rejig the 6 again rule, right? So I think the Commission need to engage, you know, contemporary views, coaches, and I think they've done that. But this one is, I think it's looking through the single lenses of positivity, right? If a team's down by 10 and they have the opportunity, you know, they concede a try and they can receive or kick off, I think that's cool, right? But if I'm a team that's in front and I concede a try, say I'm ahead by 8, right, with 2 minutes to go, I concede a try, I'm up by 2, I can receive the ball. Now I control possession. The opposition, with 2 minutes to go on the clock, does not have a chance to win.
They're pretty much out.
I can hold the ball for 90 seconds and then kick the ball into touch. That team that has all of a sudden made a charge to potentially win on the bell, like the Raiders did against the Sharks, or whatever team has done off the last set, I think is now eradicated.
Well, we'll see less of those comebacks where teams are coming back from 12, 18 points. Possession is king, like you mentioned, full of momentum. And in control of the game. But then you lose control because you scored a try.
But that's what we celebrated, right? Like over the last couple of years, we've celebrated that sides weren't dead and buried. Like that 14 and 16 nil lead in, you know, 5, 6 years ago, sides would just strangle the opposition and close the game out. But how many times did we see a 14 or 16 nil lead at half time and sides run down when momentum swung? The other one, which is interesting...
Just quickly, before you get to that, why have they brought this rule in then? I mean, a lot of people, a lot of fans, us included, would be asking the question, why? Was it necessary and why have they done it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do we see positives? Because we've highlighted what we believe are negatives or what could impact the game significantly.
I don't think it's going to have a huge bearing on the game, the short kickoff, whether you can receive or kick off, right? the restart option, sorry. It might just have a moment in time where it's like 2 minutes ago, like I explained, that now a team with an opportunity to win won't have an opportunity to win because the opposition who's conceded will receive
What are
the
you
ball.
two doing in the game?
I'll tell you what, I think the coaches are smarter than the rule changes. So the coaches will find a way to manipulate the rule to be advantage to their team. I don't mind the game trying to keep the ball in play and opportunity to score more points. But I think there's an opportunity to maybe incentivise a short restart, right? Don't change the option to kick or receive, but just give the opportunity for that team to, they get the ball back off a short restart, get 7 tackles set. It eliminates the collision and the concussion, but also gives an opportunity. So I don't mind that they're thinking this way, but I just think it eliminates the glory moments that we've seen right at the death of our game. It might give an opportunity to a team that's down by 14 early on to try and change momentum a little bit. But if you're relying on a rule change to change momentum in a game, you are just not up to NRL standards. Simple as that.
All right, Mick, what about the bench? Changes to the bench. 6 players now.
Again, like you spoke about it, like you looked at the positivity and the rules of changing them for the positive side of it. The positive side of it is there was multiple times last year where sides were depleted, and because of the concussion rules and the HIAs and the player welfare that's come into it, sides have at times when they've lost 2 or 3 players been down to 1 or 2 on the bench, and it's a battle. It's a battle to win a game of footy every weekend. So to have the flexibility of having another half on your bench that opposition that sides don't normally carry, or to have an outside back or that extra forward, because that's always the contentious call for a coach. Do I carry a back now on my bench because of the concussions and how detrimental it can be to you if you lose a winger or a fullback?
So just confirm it's 6, and as a coach, I can use any 4 of those 6.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the positive in that is it brings a little bit of excitement because you've got 6 players there, and if you've got, say, someone like an AJ Brimson on your bench, and you'll need to chase points, away you go. You think of like Jonah Pezzett last year, sitting there behind Jerome Hughes and Cameron Munster. All of a sudden, Hughes does his shoulder, and Craig's planned to use 4 forwards. But all of a sudden, I like it too. But the only concern, if we're diving deep into it, is if we're looking at some of our young players that might have played 3, 5, 10 games, that if they don't get used
That's true.
for 5 or 6 weeks, what are we actually doing to their development? Because coaches are there to win. Coaches, it's the NRL. Like if we're 65, 70 minutes into a game and it's 14-12, the coaches aren't thinking like in junior footy, I've got to give him a run. He just doesn't get a run. But you might need him there because you know during your week that not everyone else in the game needs to know that, like let's say, for example, Jaden Sewer at the Dragons has carried a quad injury, but he's managing him through the week, playing on the weekend, but you've got Jacob Halangahu there who you just need as cover. But if Jacob doesn't play for that 5 or 6 weeks while Jaden's carrying that injury, then what does that do for Jacob's development? So the positive around it is great. We've got blokes locked and loaded and ready to go, and the entertainment side of it is fans are sitting there going, mate, get Pezzett on. How good's this? We haven't had to move Wishart in there, and then all those different contingencies. But the issue is the lack of game time.
So has this rule been brought in for the tactic side or the HIA cover side, or both?
I think probably both.
I reckon both.
I think probably both.
Because we still had that issue last year when a player is concussed, it's high contact. The player who gave the high contact stays on the field, but the player that concussed comes off, right? So that doesn't necessarily change that rule at all, having 6 players on the bench.
No.
It's a bit more tactically to Mick's point about, the game's on the balance here, I can jag this guy and bring him in. So I think the game still needs to fix that rule. That can't happen. I think there could be a changing of that rule would be way more beneficial to our game than 6 and only using 4.